Since the market is currently closed, let us look at the official concluding numbers for the most recent session. Navitas Semiconductor closed its last active trading session on Friday, July 17, 2026, at a precise price of $11.70 per share, marking a significant downward intraday movement of 11.87% for the day on a massive trading volume of over 8.7 million shares. When a stock drops that sharply in a single window, the standard reaction for anyone tracking their portfolio on a mobile app is to assume the wheels are falling off the core business. The reality, however, is far more complex and interesting than a simple sell-off. Just weeks ago, management announced a massive strategic pivot, moving entirely away from consumer mobile chips to pour every ounce of their resources into high-power infrastructure, specifically AI data centers and grid systems. They even formalized a collaboration within the NVIDIA MGX ecosystem to supply advanced power systems. But right as the market started celebrating this transition, a major legal challenge landed on their doorstep. Wolfspeed filed a comprehensive patent infringement lawsuit against them in a Delaware federal court, explicitly targeting their main product lines, including the GaNFast and GeneSiC systems. This setup creates a classic gap between what the average investor expects and what the underlying corporate reality presents. The baseline expectation among retail traders using regular investing sites or setting up automated allocations through an option like Schwab Intelligent Portfolios is that any company linked to the modern data center buildup is a guaranteed win. If you look at how people talk about NVIDIA stock, or even legacy giants like Apple stock and Tesla stock, there is an assumption that the rising tide lifts every single boat in the technology harbor. Investors loading up their individual brokerage accounts assume that smaller specialized component makers will effortlessly ride the coattails of the trillion-dollar hardware giants. They see the massive growth numbers from past months and think that buying a specialized player is an easy way to outpace broad index funds. That expectation creates an incredibly high bar for actual corporate performance, where even a slight operational wrinkle or a legal dispute can trigger a rapid double-digit drop like the one we just witnessed. The immediate reality we have to analyze is the sheer volatility of these daily swings and what the recent trading volumes are telling us. Dropping nearly 12% in a single Friday session shows that institutional money is reassessing risk parameters very quickly. When a lawsuit of this scale hits the headlines, risk models inside large asset management firms tend to automatically trigger sell limits to protect capital while the legal teams parse the text of the filing. If you look at institutional tracking data, we're seeing a clear tug-of-war. On one side, growth-oriented exchange-traded funds and active managers are attracted to the massive margin expansion that usually comes with shifting away from low-margin consumer electronics toward high-margin industrial applications. On the other side, risk-averse institutional accounts are pulling back because patent litigations in the semiconductor space can drag on for years, costing millions in legal fees and potentially resulting in injunctions or mandatory royalty structures that eat into future profitability. This friction is playing out visibly across retail and institutional channels alike. Whether individuals are using the Robinhood app for self-investing, managing their long-term retirement planning through Fidelity IRAs, or executing high-frequency trades on the Interactive Brokers platform, the trading activity has spiked dramatically. We're seeing high volume concentration, which indicates that this is not just a quiet passive drift downward, it's a highly contested revaluation. The broader sector momentum has also been uneven. While the primary design firms driving artificial intelligence infrastructure have seen their valuations stretch to historic highs, the hardware and material supply chain is facing intense scrutiny regarding near-term production capacities and competitive pricing pressures. Macroeconomic factors are not helping either. High interest rates continue to pressure small-cap growth companies that rely on debt or equity issuance to fund capital-intensive research and development before reaching consistent, predictable net profitability. Please take a brief second right now to leave a thought in the section below. Comment below how many shares of Navitas Semiconductor you currently hold in your portfolio, or if you are choosing to avoid the small-cap hardware space entirely given the current legal headlines. To understand why this current conflict matters so much, we have to look closely at what this business actually builds and how their corporate history brought them to this specific juncture. The company operates on a fabless production model, meaning they handle the highly complex design work, the material architecture, and the system software, while outsourcing the actual physical manufacturing of the physical wafers to large third-party foundries. Their entire business model is built on wide-band chemistry. For decades, the entire electronics universe ran on traditional silicon components. The core issue with silicon is that as you push more power through it, it generates massive amounts of heat and loses efficiency. This company built its name by commercializing gallium nitride and silicon carbide, which are materials that can handle much higher voltages, run significantly cooler, and switch electricity at much faster speeds while occupying a fraction of the physical space required by legacy silicon. Initially, their primary commercial traction came from the consumer market. If you have purchased a premium fast charger for a smartphone or a laptop recently that is incredibly small, yet charges your device in 20 minutes, there's a very good chance it utilized their gallium nitride chips to achieve that density. That business provided great early revenue scaling, but it came with a massive drawback. The consumer electronics market is notoriously cyclical, highly price-sensitive, and plagued by fierce competition that forces rapid margin compression. Recognizing this vulnerability, the executive team initiated a total structural realignment, making the deliberate choice to abandon the mobile phone market entirely and point their entire engineering team toward high-power enterprise systems. They expanded their portfolio by acquiring GeneSiC, which gave them a robust foothold in silicon carbide technology suited for the extreme environments found in electric vehicle drivetrains, solar inverters, and heavy industrial motor drives. This brings us squarely back to the tension between investor expectations and the current fundamental reality. The expectation was that by moving into data centers, the company would instantly tap into the endless capital being spent on building out large language models. The reality is that entering the enterprise infrastructure space means competing directly against deeply entrenched incumbents who have massive balance sheets and decades of established relationships with Tier 1 industrial clients. The recent patent lawsuit filed by Wolfspeed is a direct manifestation of this competitive friction. It signals that the established players are no longer viewing this company as a minor startup playing in the smartphone accessory space. They see them as a legitimate threat in the high-stakes battle for the future of the electrical grid and the data center power supply. Looking out over the next several quarters, the forward trajectory of the stock will likely depend on a few very specific operational and legal catalysts. First and foremost is the legal defense strategy. Management immediately issued a public statement completely denying the patent infringement allegations, emphasizing their own extensive portfolio of independent innovations. If they can successfully navigate the initial procedural phases of this lawsuit in Delaware, without facing severe preliminary restrictions on their shipments, it could restore significant confidence among institutional buyers who utilize the Interactive Brokers trading desk or manage large blocks via Fidelity Wealth Management. Conversely, if the litigation takes an unfavorable turn, it could severely hamper their design-in pipeline, as enterprise clients are often hesitant to adopt components that carry unresolved legal risks. The second major catalyst is the execution speed of their data center product qualifications. In the enterprise world, you can't just show up with a better chip and get a 1,000,000-unit order. The validation process takes months of rigorous testing for thermal stability
stability, longevity, and fail-safe operations. The recent validation from their participation in the advanced hardware partner ecosystems is a massive step forward, but translating those technical wins into recognized revenue on the quarterly balance sheet is the real milestone the market is waiting for. Investors using comprehensive investing sites or looking for professional investment help are looking closely at the upcoming financial reports to see if the drop in mobile revenue is being actively offset by a matching surge in industrial and data center sales. When you sum up the entire situation, the contrast between expectation and reality is clear. The expectation was a smooth, upward trajectory fueled by general technology sector enthusiasm and the endless demand for infrastructure components. The reality is a volatile transition phase marked by aggressive litigation from a major competitor, significant near-term pressure on the stock price, and the operational friction of completely re-engineering a corporate sales strategy from consumer electronics to heavy enterprise infrastructure. For long-term market participants evaluating this through a Fidelity brokerage account, an active